All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are officially here for the grand finals of the BTS Pro Series Season 5, and it is, of course, MLP, Dota, and johnxfire joining you for this one. John, welcome back, sir. We're here for grand finals. How the hell are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. This is going to be a great matchup. A bit of a rematch from what we saw yesterday. Zoomers up against Undying once more. And I hope the Zoomers kind of picked up on what they have to do, because you pointed out the interview in the NADPC. Moon was kind of popping off in their interview. Yesterday was a pretty fast series as well, going 2-0 for Undying in, I think, max 27 minutes in one game. And it was really quick. So we'll see if the Zoomers have figured out what to do up against Undying. Undying feeling confident more than likely going into this one. They've had a lot of time to rest. They could have watched the last series as well for Zoomers, and that win for Zoomers was a long-fought, very tight battle, especially that last game. It went all the way to 60 minutes. So that could take a toll on the Zoomers' end. We'll see if they use that downtime here to refresh, get themselves up to a neutral state, and bring out their best here, because Undying, these guys are going to be hard to face up against for sure.
It's one of those things as well, right? When you come in from a lower bracket final, it's either you're feeling a bit tired from the last series or you're feeling the momentum from the last series. And I think for 4 Zoomers, luckily they were able to win that out in a 2-0 victory. So they weren't forced to go to a game 3 and kind of get a bit more fatigued from the games they were playing. Still, Undying and 4 Zoomers have begun the draft. John, Ogre, Magi, Dark Willow is the opening. For 4 Zoomers, and Undying, they do end up going for the Coddle and the Mars.
Yeah, I'd say it's a stronger start for Undying. Having the Keeper of the Light with the Mars, you have that God's Rebuke spam, you have the Spear spam if you want to play that way. You have a strong off-lane presence already with these 2 heroes on hand. Zoomers going for Ogre, Magi, and Dark Willow. They keep it open, so there's a lot of synergy you can still look for in your core pickups. But going straight for the supports does mean that you kind of leave yourself vulnerable to some pickups here. There's some really slippery heroes that don't care for the stun on the Ogre and the Dark Willow stun as well. It's not the most reliable, so you've got some ways to maybe abuse that. And when you open up with 2 supports, there's just not much flex, right? Like, there's no flexibility in the draft in terms of switching out one of these heroes as core. You don't have the option to maybe fix your lane matchups if you do pick a core that doesn't work against what Undying might want to bring out in the next phase. So the Zoomers might have to be a bit careful with the rest of the draft. Undying, they've still got options. I mean, you can kind of flex the Mars. We've seen Keeper of Light go from pause 4 to pause 5 as well. So it's fairly open for Undying to build that foundation up here.
Okay, fair enough. We are into the second ban phase, of course. Looks like the Troll Medusa being removed by 4 Zoomers. Undying, they get rid of the Jug. They'll get rid of the Timber now. Timber very good up against the Mars. In case you wanted to lane it that way as 4 Zoomers. 4 Zoomers, it looks like they're probably just going to keep focusing in on those position 1 pickups here. Just making sure that Tomato doesn't get exactly what he wants. Gonna say though, Tomato does seem to have quite a big hero pool, I might add. It always feels like he's playing a different carry. So it's very hard to kind of predict what he's actually going to go for this game in that position 1 role.
Yeah.
Looks like 4 Zoomers they're just kind of forced to ban out whatever they don't want to play against. And I guess Medusa Troll are pretty annoying, especially Medusa. It's very annoying to have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, those are the heroes Undying picked yesterday. They started with the Medusa in game 1, they went for the Troll in game 2, so they're just kind of making sure Tomato doesn't go back to his comfort picks. Tomato, it's almost like HFN, right? Like, he loves playing these hyper carries, he gets that farm advantage early, he tends to work his lanes out really well, so Zoomers have to be sort of ready with that. They ban out the Monkey King to ensure that there's no Wukong's Arena combo here, and they're just removing some of the synergies that you could build up from pause 1. There's still some combinations here for Undying. It's a bit, okay. It's a bit less meta, but you could still go, like, say, an SF mid here if you want to play with Requiem Arena. That can be potent, although SF is not in the best spot, as we have seen, but could be an option for Undying if they want to build that synergy up with a Mars.
Yeah,
it could still work. Could still work. It's just, I don't know what the win rate of the SF has been. Like, we've seen it a couple of times. In the Pro Series, I think we've seen it once, and we've seen it in the NADPC. And the moment we saw it in NADPC, I remember not being so hot. So
Right.
we'll see if Undying does kind of go that route. I don't think they're really looking for heavy synergy on the Mars. They've still got an option for, say, a Pause 5 Phoenix instead. So you get the Arena Egg combination on hand. That could be potent for Undying if they want to go that route. But it's still fairly open. They have more flexibility with what to ban out. They took out the Jug. They take out the Timber Saw as well, taking out these great cores that work well against the Mars. So you're giving your Mars a much better game to play. Maybe consider banning out the Alchemist, as Zoomers does love going into that pick for Sammy, although they have sort of veered away from it in the past few days, which is kind of nice to see. Undying do go into the Abaddon now as well, so a lot of tankiness up front, and you've got a lot of ways to take off the control from Zoomer's end, mitigate some of that burst you get out with the Ogre Magi just by having the Abaddon on hand. There's some potency here for Keeper of the Light to chakra the Abaddon to keep pumping out his damage or pumping out the shield, which can be potent. And Zoomers do go into the Tusk, so that's looking like an off-lane Tusk coming out here for Brax. That is also pretty potent. The timings are pretty back and forth. Depends on the build-up you want to go here for Brax. Maybe a Desolator Rush, maybe more utility build with, say, a Solar Crest instead. But you have a lot of early aggression to play with. You've got a Snowball save to kind of stop the arena combinations on the spear target. So you will always have something on hand to save out your bigger cores. And that could be one way of mitigating that aggressive stance that Undying want to take here.
Undying, they've only got 25 seconds reserve time left to make this this fourth pickup. Have a bit of a think about it. I will add as well, I do really like that Abaddon to boot. I think it's very nice into the Dark Willow especially. A lot of value for that Aphotic Shield. Undying, 4 seconds left of reserve time. They're going to go for the Void Spirit. They don't really know the matchup yet in that mid lane, but we've seen Bryle many, many times in that mid lane. He does just tend to dominate no matter how the matchup is. I'm sure with the Void Spirit anyway, they're going to be feeling very confident because Void Spirit doesn't really lose mid lane at all to anyone.
Yeah, and speaking of Bryle, I learned yesterday, Mike, and this is going to be a fun fact for me.
Go on.
Bryle is, I think, like a Filipino-Canadian. So
you think, or he is?
I was told by chat, and then his name sounds very Filipino, and he was listed as Canada and Philippines on his Wikipedia. So it looked like he is, and chat. Well, the members who knew were very certain. So I'm just happy,
Okay.
And you've still got a Filipino in hand, a bit of a Pinoy pride, as they say, which is not a good thing. It depends, but Zoomers do go into the Alk. So the Alk we mentioned does come in. It wasn't banned. It looks like a decent Alk game. You don't really have a natural Spirit Vessel carrier yet, but for the most part, we don't normally see that prioritized too much because the Alchemist can just build BKB. What is important now for Undying is looking for a core that can safely build a Scotty. So now you want something that just naturally builds into a Scotty to mitigate the heals coming out from the Alk. Zoomers, though, have this way of zooming past now with their net worth with the Alchemist. You have 3 heroes.
That's terrible.
Yeah, shush. They have 3 heroes that can buy out time for the Alchemist, right? Like the Ogre Magi, Dark Willow, Tusk can make a lot of space in the map. So Sammy should be able to just focus down, hammer in the farm, go for the Battle Fury build, or the Radiance build, as we've seen Sammy kind of switch it around, and just build off from there. So pretty straightforward Alk game here. No strict timings to meet for Zoomers. Undying, they're going to have to pick something great for Tomato to deal with the Alk, and again, something that preferably builds into a Scotty to prevent the regen on the Alchemist from being a major issue.
All right. There's 45 seconds reserve time left for other 4 Zoomers to make this final ban out, and they do get rid of the Weaver. We are still, of course, looking for a Tomato hero here. Weaver actually would have been pretty decent into the Alk. I mean, you kind of asked for that Eye of Skadi carrier. Obviously, the Weaver is one of those natural carriers of the Eye of Skadi later on in the game. What else is there, though? I mean, you could try to go into the Naga. We saw that last game with HFN. Is it amazing? Probably not.
It kind of fits in, though. Like, there's not much wave clear coming out from Zoomers, so you could just go for that kind of carry on the Naga, opt for Manta Skadi instead of Manta Heart first. They do get the Leshrac on hand from Zoomers, so they're kind of ready for the illusion spam, right? That gives them good push as well from the Zoomer's end. And again, building into the aggression you can get with 4 heroes to protect the Elk. There's a lot Zoomers can do in the early game, going into the mid game to buy space out for Sammy. Sammy can just focus on the farm. And Zoomers can push town towers really fast with Lush. Whereas for Undying, they don't really have tower push on hand. Abaddon passive hits are nice, but not really something that locks in towers. They do go with a PA from Undying, so that's not a Scotty carrier, but it is burst. So Tomato can maybe get enough damage going to not care for the regen on the Elk. And Tomato has some vulnerabilities early on, especially while the BKB isn't up. He's going to have to farm the Battle Fury as well into Deso BKB, or just Battle Fury BKB. This game doesn't sound too bad against a Lush. And just build up there and try to deal with the Alchemist down the line. So a really good back and forth draft from both sides. Honestly, I feel like the Zoomers draft is looking slightly better, mainly because they have a stable way of pushing out with Gunner's Lush. They've got really good fight early on with a Tusk Core. You're going to be able to make aggressive plays across the map. Undying, I mean, with a PA, you can slowly build up. Worst case scenario, you sit back and just spam the dagger out. Tusk in that lane doesn't necessarily do as much on the PA. So you have some pretty safe farm that can fly out for Tomato, but you have to watch the aggression. Tusk Dark Willow will always look for the kill opportunities more than anything else. And the PA is not particularly tanky in the laning phase.
You know where I'm looking, John? I'm looking at that mid lane right now. The way I see it is if Bryle does not win out this mid lane and Gunner manages to beat him, I think they just fall apart as a draft. Like, Tomato, he needs time to farm. It's a PA. You're going to get Battle Fury, you're going to get Deso, but you're going to need a BKB after that. And that's really the power spike of the PA. That's when you can start really fighting with your team. As far as Saberlight goes, of course, he could have a great game on the Mars and control tempo. But I think a lot of the pressure is going to be on Brawl to have a very good game. And if Gunner can somehow shut him down, then that should theoretically enable the draft of 4 Zoomers to just take over and finish the game very, very quick. So I'm really looking to that mid lane for 4 Zoomers to see if this Lesh is going to be able to beat out that Void. And if that happens, I think this draft is probably going to work out, at least for 4 Zoomers. But if that doesn't happen, I could also see Undying just walking all over them.
Yeah, it's a lot of momentum down mid we're going to have to watch out for, and we'll have to see what Gunner pulls out with his Lush. Of course, the matchup there naturally kind of favors the Lush early on, although Brawl can still just play around with the Resonant Pulse, maybe dodge out the spells with early levels in the Assimilate. You can see both sides are in good spirits. Saberlight wishing everyone best of luck, amigos. Everyone just very happy. Gunner not even wishing it back, he just says TY.
Gunner's a man of business. You know, he says thank you very much, but you're not getting any luck back. By the way, John, shout out to Sammy. I've noticed Sammy has started upping his trash talk game. At least in the lobby, it's been very fun to watch. Good to see.
Yeah, there were some call-outs onto Moon Meander as to his recreational activities. His profile pic, if you'd take a peek, would
I'd rather
indicate
not.
what
I'd
that
rather
is,
not
but-
right now, John. I think it's probably inappropriate. I would have assumed it was some kind of Attack on Titan thing going on his profile pic, but not the
No,
case.
apparently not.
Nice
I don't
D-Ward.
know why.
Nice D-Ward in the mid lane there. Husky and Gunner. Take it. I believe that was actually the ward glitch they may have used as well to give Gunner the gold. Which is, it's quite a broken glitch. Unless he didn't get the gold, but I'm pretty sure they did give him credit for it.
Yeah, could be a decent start for Gunner, having that slight edge. At the very least, having vision over the Void Spirit helps you out a lot, helps you control the lane, especially into that first power rune. So you're setting up quite nicely for Gunner. He's getting off a pretty good block as well. Brawl is keeping his block up, so it should even out in theory, and should lead to just a stable lane for both sides. As mentioned, Brawl can just clear out with the Resonant Pulse early on. Gunner can play around with the stun. He does opt for that level 1. You can get some good harassment off. But we'll have to see what Gunner opts for. We've seen some Lightning Storm builds come back in, but the go-to is usually the Edict up top. However, Tomato does drop fairly low.
That he does.
But is not dying yet.
Good to see the aggression getting started early on.
And this This dual lane for Undying up top needs some levels to get going, right? The Abaddon can sort of protect the PA, but you want to hit level 3 to have some harassment potential out. You want a level Mistcoil up as well, and maybe the Curse of Avernus if you want to gap close. So have to be careful when the tag team's up.
Dubu, Photic Shield to try and walk away. Brax is going to get low now. Tomato, still level 1, so he won't be able to continue the chase down. He just wants to be able to focus on his own farm right now anyway. Just sit back and relax. Of course, down at the bot lane, the last one we haven't really talked about. Saberline and Moon Meander going to be up against Husky and Sammy. Sammy having a pretty decent time thus far. Acid Spray to be out. Of course, even as the Mars, that Acid Spray can be very annoying. Looks like Sammy should at least be able to get some pretty darn good farm in the laning stage.
Yeah, should still be able to focus in on the creeps. For now, he's not being slowed down at all. It's going to take some levels for the aggression to come out here from Undying. You do have Chakra up on Moon. It is still level 1. The cooldown is pretty long. You can at least maybe spam out the Illuminate to make that farm a bit harder for Sammy, but you will really want to play with Chakra plus Rebuke, Chakra plus Spear, more than anything else. And for now, you can't really line it up, and you don't even get the Spear off onto Husky onto a tree. So good cuts from Sammy to prevent any openings, and just kind of builds into that stable lane. If this Alk does manage to go uncontested for the most part, and Sammy should be able to find that timing into either his Radiance or Battle Fury, and of course it is going to be faster than the PA regardless. So you're going to be setting yourself up for a pretty hard game if you don't slow down the Alk early on.
Look at that mid lane though, John. Brawl, he's having a great old time so far. 17-3 in comparison to the 12-1 of Gunner. So got the slight XP advantage, but they do even out now. And I think Brawl's going to have a pretty good game here. Doesn't, I think you've missed your timing to really try and abuse the Void Spirit. Gunner's going to try anyway. Aether Remnant, though, is going to catch him out. Bryle, with an empty bottle, has no regen left. So Gunner can abuse that fact a little bit. But those power runes are going to be extra important for this lane. You expect those supports to rotate, John. I think there's going to be a war over those power runes.
Oh, yeah. And that's where the lineup of Zoomers kind of shines a bit more, right? They've got a Ogre up front. He's very tanky, hard to contest out. And you've also got a Dark Willow with good control. For the side of Undying, like, they rotate a Coddle and an Abaddon, which can be potent, but not quite as easy to control those very sensitive spots. So you will have to watch yourself when that power rune comes up. And the supports aren't quite making their way down there yet. It looks like Dubu is set up to walk, though, so he's going to get ready for the rune spawns.
Yeah, Husky abusing Moon Meander before he runs up, but Moon going to try and cut him off. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, they are fighting. Stun does connect Gunner. He sees the invis, but the Aether Remnant Bryle will be able to take it. Still, Gunner is not going to be able to get the kill. Oh, slither of HP. He's going to try for the stun. There's a sentry down. Bryle will be made very well aware of that now. Ooh, if that Lightning Storm had done just enough damage, Gunner would have really taken off. He would have probably hit his level 6. Or just about. Bryle getting very lucky there.
Yeah, just living on the edge. I mean, he's still finding more last hits than Gunner, but the EXP is just slightly behind, so you're not too pleased about that in the Void Spirit. And Gunner, once he hits that 6 mark, can really just start dancing around. He did not opt for the Edict buildup, though, so there's not going to be an instantaneous push on the mid-tier 1, but there's still going to be a lot of magic damage that the heroes on Undying don't really deal with early on, so have to be cautious. Even Husky coming up for the 5-minute bounty as well.
Yeah, you don't want to give anything away. You want to make Bryle just sit in this lane doing nothing, and that's exactly what they're doing. Just starving the Void Spirit of his regen. Moon Meander, however, seeing all this, will protect the other bounty rune. The only negative, I guess, is Bryle is going to have to TP back into the mid lane. Try and make it back for the next creep wave. They did allow Gunner to catch up in terms of CS as well, so they're now very even.
Yeah, and then every single time you pick those bounty runes up, of course, it's a bit more value for the side of Zoomers because they've got the Alchemist. Sammy's been zoned out by Moon while Husky was away, though. He's going to have to expend some regen out, but Husky's more than happy to hand that over. This is a very sacrificial Ogre. Look at his build-up. Just stick. That's it.
Yeah, welcome to the position 5 role, John. Fire Blast is going to be there. Illuminate to fly through. Moon Meander just making sure he stays broke. Sammy, oh, he's going to be surrounded now. Saberlight, he has the spear up in 1 second, and it should be the easiest spear of his life. As he gets the out, but the acid spray does tick him out. And Sammy gives the tip straight away. You can't underestimate how much damage that thing does. Acid spray is it's disgusting.
Yeah, and because of that, I think Saberlight died before the kill on Sammy happened.
He did.
He doesn't actually get the EXP, and that's going to be a huge boon for Sammy. At the least, you're not dealing with an over-leveled Mars, and Undying now are forced to switch out the lanes. Moon Meander makes his way up top to protect Tomato from the dives, and you are seeing some of that aggression start to come out from Zoomers. They are slightly behind in net worth, but it's not by much. Brax, once he hits this level 6, can really punch people down.
He's going for it now. Shots are on point. Moon, Curse Crown, still surviving. Ocean is going to finally get the kill. Now Brax is going to try and make sure that Ocean does not die to Tomato. They do at least get the position 4 keeper. Brax will be salved up by Ocean and will be able to remain in the laning phase. Bot lane, looks like we do have a stun out onto Sammy again, but this time around he should be just fine. But I love the pressure being placed here by Saberlight. Just really keeping the CS of Sammy quite low. Just at 25 and 3 now on the Alchemist. And I agree with this decision at this point for Sammy. Just go into the jungle. There's just no point staying in the lane any further.
No real reason to. He can clear out the camps quite well. He's about to hit its level 6, and if he does hit it soon, he should be able to just regen back up to sustain the lane. So, doing quite fine on the Alchemist, all things considered. They have gotten some space out mid here for the side of Undying. They should be aware of rotations coming from Gunner, though.
That they should. Thing is, they're going to pressure the mid-tier 1 tower and try to force them back. You've got Dubu around with the Curse of Averna, so he can speed things up a little bit, but Sammy's going to be around to make sure they don't get that pressure out. And of course, the top tier 1 did end up dying. Gunner the one to pick it up. So things still going relatively smoothly right now for Zoomers. Gunner right at the top of the net worth board at 3.9k. Bryle about 800 gold behind. Now Brax going in onto Tomato. He's not going to get a kill, but he's going to make sure Tomato feels very uncomfortable.
Yeah, they're really applying that pressure in the PA. They have made rotations down bot, though. Husky.
He's trying to survive. Bryle's going to be around, and that'll be a dead Ogre. Nice pick up for the Void Spirit, and of course that'll allow them now to pressure that bottom tier 1. And slowly but surely they are going to be able to pick it up. Thing is, they've already controlled the dire jungle for Zoomers. They're really starting to escalate in terms of farmers. Now they found Dubu out. He's not level 6 yet either. He's only level 4. They get the brambles. Shards are there as well. But do they really want to dive tier 2 towers? It looks like they do. Gunner, he's out of mana, but he will get the kill. And there will be no repercussions.
Yeah, you're not in position to punish right now for Undying. They just don't have those leveled spikes they need. They don't have the damage output. Now Brax has this Necronomicon up, which is less typical for the Tusk, but it does play really well.
Oh, it's a new build, John. It's a new build. It's coming. This Necro book build up.
Yeah, it's just really lots of value early on with the tag team. Gives you push potential as well. So there's a lot of burst potential on Brax if you're not careful when he rolls in. You have to watch that timing now as well. It's still Undying are smoked up. They're going to go hunting.
Mid lane. That'd be a really nice pick if they can get Gunner. They'll jump in with the Astral Step. Gunner's trying to avoid the Aether Remnant. For now, though, he has been caught out. A great Aether Remnant there from Bryle. The brighter side, I guess they killed Bryle's courier, but it's still really bad news that Gunner ended up dying there. And well, they're going to lose Brax's courier and probably the Willow's courier. Very nice from Moon Meander. Tomato now trying to chase down Brax, it seems. First Crown out onto Moon Meander, but they want the Pulse 3 Tusk anyway. Dagger will connect, and Bryle should have enough control. And Brax, of course, he's going to try and buy some time. But he knows he's dead. Bryle will be able to pick it up on the Void Spirit.
And there's some great kills coming out for the side of Zoomers. They will have to watch the potential push coming out from Zoomers now, though, as they do line up for that mid-tier 1. Gunner now having the max Edict can just melt through towers quick, so they're going to have to throw the bodies out to prevent that from happening. And they have bought out a lot of space for Sammy. Just AFK in that jungle, AFK in the bot lane. He's one part away from his full Battle Fury. And that's the point where the Alchemist farm really just starts to overtake. He's already on top of the network anyway. He hasn't been slowing down. He's only been killed once. And there has been no further punishment. So Undying have to watch Sammy at some point. He is going to get a bit big if he's allowed to farm up like this. But Undying, it doesn't seem like they're in a position to really start to dig into that jungle to hunt the Alch down.
Arena up on Saberlight. He'd love to set up on Gunner. He has heroes coming in from the side. He does get stunned up though. Bryle, Aether Remnant, not gonna land. Now the TPs are coming in. There's your Arena. They got the Dark Willow, but she's already in the Shadow Realm. Still Ocean is gonna die. Gunner now. Who do you go on? He's trying to chase down Bryle and Dubu. In fact, they've got Bryle, but the stun, it does not last long enough. Onto Saberlight instead. But he's gonna be safe by that T1 mid tower. And Undying, they do manage to come out on top.
Yeah, it's on the edge. You can see how squishy they are right now up against the damage on Leshel, though.
They got the Fire Blast again from Husky. He's trying to protect the power rune. Luckily, it was down bot anyway, so Gunner does get the illusion up for his own bottle. Undying. Still doing just fine, buying Tomato space. Are just going to sit back and try to make sure that T1 tower doesn't go down to a Diabolic Edict.
And that's all you want to do. Prevent that early push coming out from the Zoomers. Prevent them from taking even more control on the map. Keep that farm game up on Tomato. Have to be careful, though.
Oh, Saberlight. They get the kill. Dubu is going to try and fight back along with Bryle, but I don't think they can. Shards are out. Are there step charges? It won't matter. Assimilate is going to be enough for Bryle to get out of there. But a great pick off onto Saberlight. And that's why the Necro book's so broken with Tusk. Because it works with tag team.
Yep. It's really good. It's just so potent. Gives you that early momentum. And again, it gives you push potential as well. And they catch more.
They caught him for a second. A Phonic Shield was out from Dubu though. Bryle, he wants to go in. He's going to try onto the Ogre. But Walrus Punch out with the Split Earth. They just burst him down. Terrorize is there as well on Dubu. He'll just walk away. Saberlight, he has the Arena, but he's got no way to initiate. He could try onto Gunner, but it looks just a little bit too risky. And for Zoomers, they're not slowing down. They want to go for more. Gunner, slightly cautious. Moon Meander, Illuminate. Gonna force back the Dark Willow. He still wants that big creep though, and
It's looking spicy.
he's gonna get it. Ocean, nice little snipe there. Saberlight, running in with his team. Undying, it feels like they're chasing 4 Zoomers around the map, but they're not really finding the pickoffs they want. This is still buying a lot of space for Tomato though, so I guess in hindsight, as long as the PA is farming, even if they're not finding kills, it doesn't really matter too much.
I don't know. I worry about just how much more space Sammy's getting. It's just so much more valuable for the Alch to farm up like this compared to PA. And Tomato is just not going to be able to match that farming space regardless. Even with Battle Fury up in the PA, the Alchemist is always going to be a lot richer than you, and they haven't mitigated that gap at all.
Top lane, Moon Meander gonna get snowballed on, but Dark Willow gonna get speared up in an arena, and Gunner is gonna get caught out by Bryle. A great team fight already for Undying, as now they go on to Ocean. He's the only man left behind. He's gonna just try and juke them out. Shadow Realm, not gonna work. Bryle will get the kill with the Assimilate. Nice spear there from Saberlight.
Got it.
I mean, they still haven't found Sammy. So that's one positive for 4 Zoomers. But I think you have to be pretty happy about that team fight if you're Undying. In fact,
Oh, for sure.
looks like they were trying to pick off Husky, but he managed to TP out of there in time.
Yeah, just snagging these bounties are so big. They've gotten pretty much complete bounty control this entire game. So Sammy's just constantly getting so much more gold. They're denying gold away from Undying. They aren't really able to muster the resources to contest those bounties every 5 minutes because they're so busy across the map. And Undying are starting to lag behind. 5k lead for 4 Zoomers. That's mainly on Sammy, but Gunner is also number 2 right now in net worth, so the other cores are still finding farm. It's only really Brax that has taken that back seat, but he's very close to his blink.
Gunner.
And once you do have that blink, it's going to be insane.
Oh, Gunner, he's low. Terrorize, going to be there in the nick of time, but Spear, or rather Moon Meander's Illuminate, is going to be enough to burst down the Leshrac. Onto Brile they go. They can at least get a trade. Snowball going to land a very nice one from Brax. Now the arena is down. Tomato looking to join in. So is Sammy, however. They get the unstable concoction. Dagger in. Tomato does blink strike onto Husky. They'll get the Ogre. Spear away onto Sammy. Is going to make sure he can't follow up. Another good team fight out for Undying.
Yeah, it's again on the edge. They lose. Both sides lose their mid. So overall, if you're Undying, you're probably still a bit happier because you found Gunner first. But Zoomers are still building up on that Alk. SNY up now in Sammy. He can show his face up every now and again for these fights. And with the blink up on Brax, that initiation he has on hand is just going to be even more potent. He's saving up for the Necronomicon upgrades as well in that Tusk. So the damage output he gets when he jumps into one hero and focuses down is going to be huge once he has that Necronomicon level 3 up. And the push potential just keeps skyrocketing. So Zoomers can keep looking at objectives to pressure. Undying still has only found that bot tier 1. They need to clear out that mid if they want to hunt Sammy down. And even buy more space out for Tomato. They need that tower gone. But they just aren't able to melt it fast enough, and Zoomers are very disciplined to actually constantly go for that defense. They have to be careful when they commit.
Husky. If there's any target you didn't want to run into, it was Husky. They'll get the Pos 5 Ogre. But he did tank the gank. So I'd say that's a kind of a win for 4 Zoomers, quite frankly. As they TP down bot now, Undying trying to find another target. Now if they can find Gunner, that'd be a great one. That is not going to be the case. Instead, they're going to try and secure the power rune at the 18-minute mark. And go into the mid-tier 1. Power rune up top, though, and Sammy's going to take the illusion rune. Looks like they aren't actually going to be able to pressure that mid-tier 1. Because top lane, they found Tomato. Brax and Ocean getting the kill on their own. Ocean now just going to go for a right TP out, and he's going to be just fine to get out. Things just keep getting better and better now for Zoomers.
Yeah, they're just revealing all these items really well. The blink on Brax probably catching Tomato off guard there. And again, the PA is not that tanky early on. You need items up, you need your talents up to really start avoiding those hits. So very vulnerable time for Tomato, even with a Battle Fury. He is trying to rush a BKB, and that should help him stand in front, maybe deal with Gunner. But Sammy also has his own BKB now, so the Alchemist is pretty much ready to fight. Sammy's just saving up for the AC
Husky
next, but he is showing up.
Tried to initiate for the team. It's going to go down immediately. They still don't go in after Saberlight. They love the Mars dead. Still, he survives. Continues to survive, in fact. He's very tanky. Dubu. Borrowed time going to pop. He might be the only one to die here. And if that's the case, I think you're perfectly happy with that as Undying. I mean, at least the kill went to Sammy, I guess. And that'll be it.
Yeah.
4 Zoomers back out. 7k net worth lead still remaining. Tomato just has to get back to farming.
That's all they can do. You're seeing some damage issues from Sammy on Saberlight. Saberlight is just a bit too tanky, and Sammy did not go for any damage items. Of course, this is the standard Alk buildup, so he's going to be lacking that pure right-click damage for a bit longer. There is a smoke up from Zoomers, and they get a good scan out, so they might get a good initiation here.
If they can, though, Brawl's around to break the smoke. Tomato sees Sammy illuminate right through 3 of them, and now an arena out from Saberlight. Oh, that's just great patience there from Undying. They are still going to lose the Keeper. In fact, Dubu's going to drop as well, but they buy back on Moon Meander. Tomato right back in after Gunner. Will change his mind and go on to Brax, but Gunner has been slowed up. Spear is not going to land on anything, but they have the control. They'll get the kill. Sammy's the only one left, and he's going to TP right out and go for those top bounties instead. And there's a decent smoke attempt, but they got a bit overly confident just rushing into the high ground like that. And Undying punished them heavily.
Yeah, they need to respect that you know, they had low ground, they didn't have vision up there as well, and they just kind of got caught off guard by the blink this time on Saberlight. Getting that perfect arena off with a combination on Moon. There was a lot of magic damage flying through. Because of that, Undying finds that mid-tier 1. They open up the map a little bit more. They're still lagging behind in net worth. But Tomato is now number 2 in net worth. And all things considered, this is an ALK. You don't mind being number 2, and they can try to apply pressure here as well, Sammy.
Oh, that's a big pick-off. He has help coming in, though. Chemical Rage going to be popped. Saberlight, the first one to get picked off here by Brax. They can't get the ALK yet. Gunner has been caught by the Aether Remnant as Brawl jumps in. Blinding Light, Moon Meander being caught now by Husky with the Fire Blast. They can at least get the Keeper. Dubu still going to be chased down as well. There's Brax with the tag team and the Shards, and that'll be a third. A triple kill out for Sammy. You know what, John? We've seen so many 4 Zoomers Alchemists that haven't worked out. But this one just looks amazing in the grand finals of all times.
It's mainly because Undying just didn't draft anything to counteract it. And of course, they had no option for the A8 to slide in because they kind of locked into sports. They don't have a natural Spirit Vessel carrier earlier on. They still have no natural Scotty carrier as well. So they're just hoping to try and burst down Sammy, but he's way too tanky up front. The Roche just absolutely melts with the Acid Spray on top, with the tag team running. Brax just helping Sammy out. And now you have an Aegis to deal with on the Alchemist. Second Life of Alch may not be that scary depending on when Chemical Rage is popped, but that's still a massive issue for Undying. They're flagging behind. They need more items up on Tomato. He's trying to save for the basher. They will go for defense though.
Nice arena there from Saberlight. Terrorize not going to be there in time. Saberlight will return the tip over to Brax. Battle of the offlaners. Every kill that occurs here for Undying, and I know I sound like a broken record, but Tomato is still farming. And I think at some stage this PA is going to be a bit too much to handle. If you can drag it long enough.
I mean, that's like, I think we're having to see 20 to 25 minutes for Tomato to really hit that big mark. He has the Batcher up, but as long as Sammy plays it safe, gets his positioning right, with his big item advantage, it's still a lot for the PA to have to work against. You do have the Ags here on Brawl though, so you've got that AoE silence with a Resonant Pulse, you've got more damage and durability out for the Void Spirit in the middle of these fights. That could help them find more of those pickoffs, and I think the only way Undying feels good is that if they constantly find those 4-man kills. Like, that's the one time you feel good about just ignoring the ALK. If everyone else falls, it becomes a bit of a net worth trap, a bit of a money pit, that ALK. So they kind of just isolate him as the only farm hero. That's one way for Undying to turn it around. Of course, there's some pressure here from Zoomers to play quick. Because they have this Leshrac, they have to melt these towers quick. They are going for the top tier 2, but the bot tier 2 is being pressured by Undying as well.
They're just trying to trade evenly right now. Keep in mind, you've got a TD room bottled up here on Brawl, so they could try for a team fight very soon. It's still very dangerous into the L, don't get me wrong. And they may just choose not to. That being said, they may not have a choice because they are pinging high ground now. For Zoomers, they want to go for that tier 3 tower. And they can take it very darn quick with that Diabolic Edict once it's up. But here comes the jump in. Surge up on Sammy. He's going to pop the Chemical Rage. That'll be enough. Bit of chip damage on the tier 3. Looks like they'll return back into the mid lane perhaps and start pushing that out into the tier 2 tower. However, they've got to be careful. There's a group up here Undying. They aren't going to find them. Good timing to back off there from 4 Zoomers.
Yeah, they're starting to build into the Ags now on Sammy. Now, this is an all-in play. When you go for the Ags early on the ALK, that does offset your next item spikes. He is still maintaining a 7k, 9k lead over Tomato.
Oh, nice initiation. Brax, he found Moon Meander. That's their high ground defense. Snowball's going to kill him off. Saberlight, he dropped the arena to boot. This is really bad news, John. Tomato, he's going to jump in, but now the Yule Scepter comes out. He's being controlled. He'll pop his BKB, though. He'll try to get down onto Gunner. The damage isn't quite there yet. Gunnar, he's going to turn right back around with his own BKB onto Saberlight. They'll get the Mars. No buyback available. Back onto Dubu now. The Abaddon, borrowed time will save the day. The one saving grace is Gunnar is quite low in HP, but he is going to be salved up. He does have the Edict back up, but he needs a creep wave. Brax has been doing a hell of a lot of work on this task this game. I've got to tell you, that initiation means they can get this top rack. Sammy, he's just focusing it down, but now the Chemical Rage is out. Terrorize is there, but it doesn't connect onto Brio, so he can just turn back around. Tomato, he jumps in, but the stun's around. Tomato! Oh, maybe a bit of miscommunication. Tomato jumps in as Brawl jumps out. Not only did they lose their racks, but they lost their position 1 on the side of Undying. That's very, very bad news here for the Dire side.
They have a lot to worry about on the side of Undying. Like, the Ags upgrade on Gunnar does give him that nihilism passive, so he has a free disarm on... If the PA jumps in with no BKB, he basically just disarms her. And that's going to cause massive issues for Undying. They went all in on Tomato's hero. They've sacked their farm elsewhere to get that done. Sammy's still a massive issue now. He's going for that Swift Blink next on the Alk, as you tend to see. And once that's up, he will just machine gun heroes down. Like, you've got the Bloodlust up on Husky. Sammy, when he blinks in, of course, gets the bonus attack speed as well. Free movement out. And that is going to be very hard to hold down for the side of Undying. They're just losing their outer towers. They lost mid tier 2. Bot tier 2 lined up next after Gunnar clears out that bot tier 1, and it doesn't take long. You've got Leshrak, you've got Necronomicon level 3 up.
Oh, Sammy. Dubu gonna have the borrowed time immediately. Unstable concoction. He's gonna just pop the BKB himself. Now they jump in with an arena, but they're gonna lose Dubu at least. Split Earth connects Gunnar, gonna make sure he's controlled up. Now the BKB out from our Leshrak as he rushes in. And Undying just have to kite out the best they can. Don't forget, we don't have many buybacks on Undying. So if you see 2-3 heroes go down, it's gonna be almost a guaranteed another lane of racks going. So Undying do have to be very cautious about that until Tomato gives the go-ahead. So he's definitely not ready yet.
He's a long way off from being ready. Saving up for the Ags now on the PA. That should give him more presence in the team fights and more opportunities to split push a lot more effectively. You can see 4 Zoomers are just camping the triangle, waiting for someone to come out and farm.
I love it.
And that's a lot of patience. No one's coming out, though. They do break it off, but you can see that they just want to maintain that aggression and keep shutting the map out for Undying.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, it is essentially 3 supports. I mean, it's a Tusk Pos 3, but Pos 3 is just a big, farm-heavy support anyway. And, well, he's got the Enchanted Quiver as well on Brax. So, that Walrus Punch is going to hurt a hell of a lot to whoever does cop it. I wonder. Looking for a target. Tomato, blurred up, is just going to go back into the triangle now. Divine Rapier already queued up. Tomato not messing around. He needs the damage.
Yeah, he knows. Like, it's just so hard to go for that build and seeing all the control on Zoomers. Like, even if he BKBs, if he gets Walrus Punch in the middle of the fight, he's slowed down enough that his pacing is thrown off, and you have to watch that. They need to find the perfect angles here from Undying. There's a lot of pressure on Saberlight to keep landing those big arenas, and there's a lot of pressure on Brawl to isolate some heroes and prevent them from getting that control off. So we'll have to see if they can find the angles. Zoomers, again, still choking out the map, still holding the triangle, but there are wards here for Undying to play with.
Sammy, waiting for that bounty. He's going to be surrounded in a second. He does have the Chemical Rage up, and he's going to pop it straight away. Still Saberlight trying to go on the Willow. Look at Ocean. That's one down. Onto another now. Bryle's gone down to the Void Spirit. Meanwhile, Moon Meander dies to Gunnar off the map, and now, well, they'll go straight back in onto Saberlight. This is looking like very, very bad news for Undying, as they've got 3 heroes down with that buyback. I think that's mega creeps for 4 Zoomers.
No, 100%. Sammy can just rip right through. Gunnar as well can just melt every single tower. The Swift Blink is up for Sammy, so Machine Gun Alcus in play. Look at that. Beautiful. That's without the Chemical Rage. Once you pop that on, nothing survives.
They haven't
And
actually got creeps.
Undying, I mean, yeah, it's a bit far back, but that should buy enough time for the respawns on Undying to be close. I don't think it matters too much. Like, they just can't burst any of these heroes down. They have to contend with Husky having the Ag Shard, so there's some damage mitigation on the first few hits as well. And it just causes many issues for Undying to clear out and try to kill off heroes. They can only clear out the supports, but they don't really matter once they cast a couple of their spells.
Well, they're going to get one lane of barracks at least. Whether they get megas is entirely a different story now, because everyone is back up. They'll just take the melee barracks and they'll back out of there. They do have a Roshan to play for. And it seems as though they aren't quite aware yet, but Brax is going to check. Seems like Brax is always the one checking with his courier. C4 Zoomers, I'm sure, slowly but surely make their way over. Problem is, Tomato is also aware that it might just be up. Undying, I think you have to take this team fight. Either that, or you just try to farm the Divine Rapier in the time they're taking the Roshan. Tomato is close.
Yeah, it's close enough that you start to feel a bit comfy for Undying and having a key to bouncing back. I just get scared. Like, if Tomato dies in the middle of the fight, that's it. That's game over. So it's an all-in condition now on the Undying side of things, and they're gonna have to be very cautious with how Tomato approaches the middle of these fights. The Roche is going to be started here by the side of 4 Zoomers, and again, Sammy can just melt this right through, even by himself. They're playing it safe. They want to be able to preempt any sort of movement out by keeping all the other heroes outside. Undying are not even aware. They're not even sending anything out. They do have a courier from their Dubu to watch, but it's not really getting vision out. And
I think they're
going to
just
surrender that Roche.
I think they've accepted the fact that they'd rather the Divine Rapier at this point. It might just be a matter of, we could go fight, but we're probably going to get wiped. And there's your Divine now. It's just locked at the moment, but he has every component for it. The Tomato not really putting it together yet. Has locked the Sacred Relic. Just not wanting to show that the Divine's there. You've got to be confident if you're 4 Zoomers. I mean, Aegis Cheese is up. They've even got an Arcane Rune bottled up on Gunner. Hell, Husky's even got the Fire Shield thing going. Makes them quite a bit tankier.
Honestly, the Ogre Shard in this case is just... It'll ruin Tomato's game. He jumps in, he wants that crit in first 3 hits. 70% of his damage reduced. Just like that. With your first few attacks. So you have to be very cautious with how you approach these fights. You need someone else to burn down those shields first before you commit with a PA. Otherwise, you're just going to tickle them for 3 hits, and that's not what you want to do with a PA. You just want to burst them down ASAP. It's going to be a difficult one.
Right in. Tier 3 tower, under siege. They've got to find a way to initiate. They could also just try and wait out the Chemical Rage. And 4 Zoomers, they're going to play this very carefully, I think. Just in and out of that tier 3, slowly chipping away. This will give Undying time to think about how they're going to take this fight. It's not going to be easy no matter how you look at it. The Divine is now completed. No Chemical Rage right now, but they don't want to go down to the low ground, because they'd be fighting into the high ground of 4 Zoomers. Got to smoke up right behind Sammy. He jumps in. He's trying to bait for the team. Now they move in. There's a fair bit of damage. Sammy, he's been silenced up. He's going to lose the Aegis. That's 1 life gone. In we go. Arena is down. Can they get a nice spear off? Not quite yet. In fact, they do in the end. But Gunner is going to move forward onto Dubu. He'll get the Abaddon. That'll be 1 gone without buyback. In fact, it might just be 2. Moon Meander, he dies. He'll buy back. The Mars dies. Sableye will buy back. Now onto Gunner they go, but the damage isn't there in time. He gets the cheese off. He still remains alive underneath the T4 towers, but that Illuminate, that's a lot of damage, but not quite enough yet. Gunner is still alive, pops the Blood Zone active. They'll get another kill to Sableye. Tomato's gone down. This game is looking very over. They'll buy back, but the GG's been called, and 4 Zoomers almost getting a rampage on Gunner at the end, but it won't matter because they get the first game of the grand final to go their way. And I think most people would agree that was rather unexpected. But that does mean that at least one game to 4 Zoomers, and if Undying want to win this grand final, it has to go to a 4th game now.
Yeah, I'm Undying. They draft into this Mars Coddle. They try to get their strong lanes going, but Zoomers, they were ready. They play a really fast game with the off-lane Tusk. They couldn't manage that lane well for Tomato. He went off to a slower start. Sammy had all the space in the world to farm up, and they went late game. Their last pick PA, they didn't have an option for a Scotty build-up. They had to go Divine, and there was just too much going on. Like, the Zoomers had way too much control to go through the BKB. Yeah, for Tomato, it's just not enough to hold out. Like, you BKB and you get Walrus Punch, and then what? Like, you're just kind of stuck there. So, not quite the game for Undying. They did try something different, so we'll see if they go back to what's more in line with their playstyle for game number 2.
Let's find out how it all does go down, John. It's MLP Dota and JohnXFire. We'll be back in roughly 10 minutes for our second game draft.